You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
It's Wednesdays with Keegs. What's up, buddy?
Offseason mode, Dan. It's good to see you.
You're still in Toronto?
Yeah. I'll get back to Nova Scotia here pretty soon. A couple trips, but I tend to bum around here a little bit. You know, this is like my couch time. I like to do nothing for a while. Everyone always asks me how quickly I'm going to take a trip. Like, I don't want to see an airplane right now, man. No chance. It's maybe by January I'll do a real trip and go, drink Mai Tais on a beach somewhere. But for now, I am on the couch. I am watching football 4 days a week, basketball the other few days, rarely thinking about baseball. But it's hard to escape, man. When the Blue Jays go to the World Series, this stuff comes really quickly. Normally, the Blue Jays are eliminated on October 3rd, and I disappear for a month until baseball is over. But I guess this is the life that, people who cover the Dodgers and Astros and stuff like that live. But it's good. There's some momentum, and there's some baseball to distract people from the fact that Game 7 loss really sucked. So I guess it's good that time is moving forward.
Yeah, let's not talk about that anymore. Let's talk about Bo Bichette. That's on Jays fans' wish list, that gets signed, sealed, delivered. What are you hearing?
The Bo news, I think, is going to hang over this entire offseason, and I think it's going to stretch for a bit, Dan. And the reason for that is that a lot of teams are going to value Bo very differently. Now, when you look at the top of the market at some of the top pitchers, I'll even use someone like Kyle Schwarber, the big slugger from Philly, as an example. People are going to kind of agree on his value, and there will be a little bit of a race at the end for a few $1,000,000 a year either way. He is who he is. Everyone knows it. Everyone agrees on it. Bo Bichette is not a player that people agree on, and that means that some people, some teams, will view him as a second baseman, maybe a third baseman. I don't think he's a third baseman, but second baseman who is going to decline physically, slow down even more. That's a lot different from a shortstop who is one of the better hitters among middle infielders in baseball. So some teams will value him at 8 years, $200+ million maybe. Other teams will want to go a few fewer years, much less money. And when that happens, it takes you a while to find the middle. Or if you're Bo and his agent, you hope that middle's a little closer to where you're standing. So we'll see how this plays out. It's going to be really interesting. The Blue Jays are absolutely going to be involved in that. And what Bo has said all along, Dan, I think matters. He keeps saying he wants to be here, and that gives them a tiebreaker. It does not mean he will take $50 million less. Sentimentality does not matter. I am sorry. But, Dan, how long does Bo stay here a year? 3 months? 81 home games plus a few off days? Mm-hmm. He's not grinding out November in Toronto, right? So the sentimentality only goes so far. The Jays will be in it, man, but this is going to be the big story of the winter. Everybody loves Bo. Everybody wants him back.
Kyle Tucker's the other story for the Blue Jays, and I was discussing this with someone. I said, well, he's got to fit with the mold of the team, and then I realized if Tucker becomes a Blue Jay, he's instantly the second best hitter on the team, so you can make someone instantly fit and force them to fit into the piece of a puzzle that you want it to look like if he's the second best hitter on the team.
Exactly. Winning is what chemistry is. And I've gotten that question a lot, Dan, about, and I don't know if it's more of a hockey question or not, but when people have asked me, will it upset the chemistry of the team if you make any big additions? I don't care. Jesus, grow up.
But everyone has that question now because of the tight-knit bond.
Exactly.
But you hit the nail on the head. They were tight because they were winning.
Exactly. If they were a 73-win team, do you think I'm writing stories about Barger sleeping on Schneider's couch? No. I'm writing about people getting DFA'd, and it's tense. Mm-hmm. And the other argument, Dan, to more of an extreme, is that look back through all the World Series winners. Were they all holding hands? Besties sending postcards? Jesus, no. God, no. I have been around teams that have had infighting, have had blow-ups in the clubhouse, and won a lot of baseball games. It goes anyway. But Kyle Tucker, as the Blue Jays look at him, I don't think chemistry is going to be a big worry. He's really good. Now, is he an elite player? I don't think so. And that's okay. I don't want to get into NFL quarterback, is Joe Flacco elite territory. Kyle Tucker's really, really good. Really good ball player. And he's someone who, when you look across the board at all of his physical tools, his abilities, There's a lot of 9s out of 10. There's not a 10 out of 10. He's not Soto. He's not Ohtani. But he is still completely worthy of being the biggest fish on this market. And he really fits the Blue Jays. Now, great players fit any team. I get that. But his offensive style really fits how the Blue Jays play baseball, with the amount of contact, sprinkling with some power. It's very Toronto. And, Dan, I would also argue that an outfielder is a major need for this team. Like, beyond Kyle Tucker, they need an outfielder because next year, after 2026, George Springer is a free agent. At that point, Anthony Santander, I think, goes into early retirement as a DH and just DHs forever. That's okay. Dalton Varsho, also a free agent. So they're always going to find guys like Barger and Nathan Lucas and Joey Loperfido, but they need a star out there again. And the Blue Jays have money. So everything lines up for them to be involved in Kyle Tucker. I just don't think it's a thing they're going to chase. You know, they chased Shohei Ohtani. Do you think they started out at $700 million? God, no. They chased that number. Juan Soto, what he signed for, they didn't start there. They chased that number. I think Kyle Tucker is more of the old school boring approach where you set your value, and if it ends up there, you go for it. But I don't think they're going to run down the road after the guy.
There's also talk of a lot of arms being added to the pen, and I mentioned this earlier this week. I don't care about the chemistry of the pen. They're on an island themselves. They're the island of the misfit toys, so throw anyone in there.
Exactly. That's why I like relievers. That's where you keep the weird dudes down in the bullpen, you know? Relievers and catchers, especially backup catchers. Those are my people. But the bullpen needs a little bit of help. And I think that needs to come in the form of a big arm and not 2 or 3 smaller ones. You know, the Blue Jays now, they've had development success stories like Braden Fisher. Like the fact the Blue Jays got Braden Fisher for whatever was left of Kevin Biggio. And I've said this to Braden Fisher. I told him, when the Blue Jays traded for you, I didn't care enough to write a story about it. And he laughed, and I said, no, man, like, listen, trade stories do traffic, and your trade, I didn't write about it because it was so small. I remember looking at this guy being like, oh, those stats, whatever, I've got better stuff to do. Now that the Blue Jays are showing they're capable of those development stories, every time you develop a Braden Fisher, you save $8 million on a 34-year-old reliever. That's the value of player development. It's not always going to be Vladdies and Bows. It's going to be saving yourself $6, $8, $10 million with stuff like that. So I think that they need to go out and swing big on a back-end arm. And, of course, Edwin Diaz is going to be at the very top of that list. There's also some former closers like Ryan Helsley, who they were very interested in at the trade deadline. The price was just a bit high then. Is Jeff Hoffman the closer in 2026? I don't know. And when when another reporter asked Ross Atkins that question, he gave a weird answer at the end of your press conference. Instead of saying, yes, we're confident in him, his answer was immediately, well, the great thing about Jeff is that he'll be happy to contribute in any way. And I thought, oh, something smells
He's the
there.
king of weird answers.
He is, yeah. Sometimes you know how it gets. Sometimes you just start talking and you get a little far down the line. But they need another option to close games because Jeff Hoffman had some incredible stretches, but they can't be balanced out by that many downturns. And everyone's going to remember, for example, that home run in the 9th inning of the World Series. He'd been great otherwise, but there's these extreme highs and lows, even more than a closer should have. So I'm interested to see what they do there. They've shown they're willing to be aggressive with the Hoffman signing. Something like Edwin Diaz would go well beyond that money-wise. Don't know if they'll go all the way there, but they've got to remodel that a little bit. That's an area that they can improve.
Staying in the bullpen is the slap on the back guy. That pumps everyone up in the bullpen. Is he back next year?
He's back. I like that with Louis Varland.
That was
the
Louis
type of
doing
guy.
that?
No, Varland was the guy that would get it most often.
Oh, okay.
And he's the type of dude that.
But
can
I
make
want to
it
know
work.
who's the guy doing the slapping.
I need to bring it up again. I believe it's one of their assistant pitching coaches that works in the bullpen.
Yeah, it's one of the guys.
With those guys.
You see him in the first game of the series when they announce everyone.
Yeah, and it depends on the guy, you know, like Louis Varland seems to like it. Like Varland's the type of guy that would want you to punch him to get fired up. Whereas like Braden Fisher, I think, is too good of a guy. I wouldn't want to hit him. And if I did that to Yariel, I'm worried he would turn around and kill me immediately. You know, you got to pick your right spots with that. But I like it. It reminds me of like I'm watching NFL films and there's some nutty lineman asking the trainer to slap them in the face or something.
Yeah, or that guy hitting himself with his own helmet and then
Yeah.
he starts gushing blood.
Yeah.
Anything else on the radar that we should be looking at in these aren't called the dog days because it's winter.
Dog days of winter.
Yeah, what do they call this portion of the baseball season?
Oh, the BS days? I don't know.
The BS, the let's make stuff up days?
Yeah, it's my least favorite time of year. There's lots of fluff. And the rule I always have for myself is the teams are interested in anyone who's better than their worst player. Okay? Like, I don't need anyone to tell me teams are interested in Bo Bichette. Obviously, they're interested in Bo Bichette. He's a 300 hitter with power who can play shortstop. Great. But a lot of people want to be aggregated and want to score points on Twitter. I don't know where you spend those points. I've never found it out. But all the power to them. I hate that game. I'll never play it.
But this is also where you find out if you have a good agent or not because he's creating stories out there, sending them to
float some
reporters.
Stuff. And plenty of times over the years, I've had agents reach out with stuff. Hey, man, just want to let you know there's a lot of interest. And I'll think, no, there's not. And even if there was, you're not going to move my mouth for me. I'm good, man.
Yeah. Didn't your player quit baseball?
Yeah.
No. They're really pumped for him.
Things are very interesting at this point. So you're going to hear a lot of that. The only other area I look for the Blue Jays, Dan, is the rotation. And I think that is not getting enough attention as a big area of need right now. And it's, for me, more about 2027. And I know that looking a year down the line doesn't excite people, but I think it's extremely necessary in the rotation. Because right now you would have Kevin Gausman, free agent in a year. Shane Bieber, free agent in a year. Trey Savage looks like he could be an ace, but so did Alek Manoah. I know they're very different pitchers, but you gotta be careful with prospects. Jose Barrios has an opt-out, if he wants it, after this season, and Eric Lauer is a free agent after this season. So, Dan, I think of that Will Smith and Fresh Prince standing in an empty room meme. That could be Trey Savage. Don't let it be Trey Savage. So they need to make a big splash in their rotation. I think that should be one of, if not the biggest priorities this offseason, and it's not being talked about enough. So the two blueprints that I use for them, number one is Gausman. They signed him for 5 years, $110 million, which is a great deal. They nailed that deal. And they got near ace level pitching without spending $300 million, without giving that Garrett Cole contract. The other one they nailed was acquiring Barrios. They traded for him. That trade, in hindsight, like most trades, looks just fine. And they extended him. Can they do that again with someone like Freddie Peralta or someone on the market who can be brought in like the Red Sox did with Garrett Crochet? They need a big dog in there with you, Savage, long term. Right now, they don't have that. And player development will account for some of that, but it won't account for all of it. So there's money to spend, man. Rogers did not lose money in October. I promise you. I promise you they did not. So there's money to spend, at least as much as last year. I would argue more than last year. And far more than anyone's talking about, the rotation needs to be at the top of that list.
Here's, speaking of money, I haven't investigated this.
Ooh.
Don't know if you know, but for finishing runner-up in the World Series, what's the player cut?
Oh, I don't know if you get a share for that. We
I
so
think
often
you must get something.
Yeah, I hope you do.
That's a massive revenue generator for baseball.
I hope so. Because we talk a lot about World Series shares for the winning teams, and it's often a matter of how many are you going to give out? Because if you give out 100 versus 60, obviously that waters it down a little bit, right? And you often hear great stories about everyone in the clubhouse agreeing, hey, that 38-year-old journeyman who pitched 2 games for us in July, let's give him a share. Let's help him out, I'm going to look that up after we talk. So I'm curious now. I hope those guys got a few bucks out of it.
MLB sets up a postseason players pool made from the ticket revenue from playoff games. That pool gets divided into shares. So the losing team gets 24% of the pool. The winning team gets 36% of the pool.
Oh, good. Okay.
So each player gets around $300K.
Good for them. All right. There we go. There we go. That'll take the edge off, especially.
And that's American.
Yeah, especially for some of the young guys coming up. First year, you're making $600-700K. you're fresh into the league. You're probably living way beyond your means already.
They're having a good offseason.
Yeah, you're buying chains that you shouldn't be buying yet. You're buying cars that you should not be buying. So
Yeah, because if you finish second in the World Series, runner-up in the World Series in like your first or second year, you're like, this is going to happen every year. So you spend
always
all that
going to
money.
happen.
You
So
spend every penny.
That's probably catch-up money, but good for them. They played the longest season possible. I think like the longest season ever. So they deserve a little extra cut, man. My God.
That's right.
Where's mine? This is ridiculous.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah,
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.